very well. But if for any reason we have any problems, we will be.
However, a mistake during trials saw some participants.
All right, welcome everybody to the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Islip. I'll read the public notice. Notice is hereby given that due to the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic and recent executive orders issued by the governor, Town of Islip Zoning Board of Appeals hearing scheduled for Tuesday, December 8th, 2020 at 6 p.m. will be held electronically via Zoom webinar instead of an in-person public hearing. It will be streamed live over the internet. Dated 12/1/2020, John M. Lorenzo, Chairman. I will be briefly filling in for the Chairman tonight. He should be here shortly. We'll begin with our first application, number 706-20, Mark G. and Christine Muller. Permission to erect a one-story addition, 17.7 feet by 29.6 feet. And second-story addition, 14.3 feet by 26.4 feet, leaving a side yard of 12.4 feet. Instead of the required 14 feet, and total side yards of 24.4 feet instead of the required 28 feet. To erect a covered porch, 12 feet by 29.6 feet, leaving a side yard of 12.4 feet instead of the required 14 feet, and rear yard of 15.3 feet instead of the required 25 feet. To install cellar entrance, leaving a side yard of 8.4 feet instead of required 14 feet, all having a floor area ratio of 31.9% instead of the permitted 25%. To leave a shed having a side yard of 3.3 feet, driveway having a side yard of 1 foot, and gravel on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet each. Residence B District, north side of East Nassau Street, number 205, 115 feet east of Belmore Avenue, Islip Terrace, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Chris Ang, the representative for the owners.
Good evening, Mr. Ang. And
How are
what makes you think that we would possibly grant all that relief on any one application, sir?
I would like to point out that the part of the FAR, which is the proposed covered porch.
Well, I was going to ask you specifically about that because, you know, the chairman would probably have my head if we granted something over 30% in his absence. You know how he feels about these things.
I'd like to point out that the covered porches and the porticos are 5.2% of the FAR that we're asking for. Yeah, the owner never intends to use this as living space. If we take out that 5.2%, we're at 26.7% without
Right.
those two items.
Okay.
But if I may, Mr.
Please, go ahead.
Chairman, you say if we back out 5.2, what gives us the authority to back out 5.2?
You don't have the authority. I would just
Well-
like to point out that the owner would never intend to use that as living
Well,
space.
I beg your pardon. We have the authority to do many things here, Mr. Ang. We may choose not to exercise it, but we certainly have the authority.
Mr. Ang, what is the nature and character of the neighborhood hold with respect to the FAR?
Nature and character of the neighborhood is, I spoke to Deidre Bryan today. It's about 30%. So we're asking for
So why don't you come in
1.9.
30%?
I'm sorry?
Why don't you come in at 30%?
I think that's a good idea, Mr. West.
I knew you'd think that. I think everything else is de minimis.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Is there anyone from the audience who wishes to be heard, Ms. Pissarro?
No.
All right, Mr. Ang, do you deign to add anything else when things are
Oh.
going so well for you?
You know
No,
what?
sir.
I didn't think you
I
did.
think your client is here, but they are hearing us, so
Okay, that's
just
fine.
move them in and see.
Mr. Wexler, will entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion that we deny so much of the application seeking 31.9% FAR. However, grant 30% FAR and grant the remainder of the application.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Application approved, Mr. Ang. Thank you. Next application number 707-20, Jesse M. and Jennifer A. Lasco. Permission to erect roofed over porch 8 feet by 12.1 feet, leaving a side yard of 1 foot instead of the required 9.5 feet, and to erect a portico 6.9 feet by 14.3 feet, resulting in a floor area ratio of 61.3% instead of the permitted 25%. Residence A District, 278 Cluster, south side of Ebb Tide Court, number 1, 225.9 feet east of Bayview Drive, Oakdale. Mr. Ang, you're up again. You don't do anything easy, do you, sir?
Real quick, I'm so sorry, guys.
Mr. Chairman, thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman.
The con is yours, sir.
No, it's yours. I
Oh,
apologize.
no, please. It's all yours.
Just wanted to let you know I'm here.
I got my cheap shot in at Mr. Rang, so.
Go ahead, go. I apologize.
We are proposing a front covered porch and portico on this property. This is a property that it's in a small development, and most of the properties are smaller, and everything was built closer to the property line.
And it's a
So-
cluster too, right? As
That's-
indicated in the call,
That's correct.
which is important
Yes.
because that's how your
And-
FARs get so high, isn't it?
Yeah, we're adding in FAR, but I'd like to point out again that the FAR that we're adding is for covered porch and portico in the front yard. We're not looking to exceed the side yard setbacks that are existing. So I'm just trying to maintain a lot of what's there.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
You know what question I'm going to ask, Mr. Ang?
Yeah.
What is the nature and character of the neighborhood with that respect to FAR?
I'd like to say that in this cluster, we're maintaining the nature and character of the neighborhood. There's 3 other houses that have the porch and portico that we're looking to build on.
What is the FAR of the 3 other houses?
On those,
Yes.
I would not.
Ms. Ryan, maybe you know.
I'm not too sure what they are exactly, but they do seem like they take up a lot of the lots that they have because of how the development's kind of set up. If you look at the aerial, they're all
They're
with-
clustered. That's what they are.
they're all right up against a lot of the property lines. But there are spaces in between that would act like normal side yards if this was a normal development. So there's no precedent, but I think this is kind of more of a unique case because of the development in the cluster.
And this is not inconsistent, as Mr. Wexler asked, with the nature and character with the other houses out of those 6 or so that are right there. This is all pretty consistent, right?
Correct. I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, just, if I can ask one question, what is the existing FAR?
57.1.
I got you. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
There was a neighbor who did say they wanted to watch and not necessarily speak. So I'm never quite sure how to handle these. So neighbor, I have just moved you into the panel. If you have changed your mind and there's anything you want to say, now would be the time to say it. Anybody see the person I just moved in? I'm having trouble.
Yes.
Yes, Robert Muchnick.
Yes.
Mr. Muchnick, now's your time to be heard.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Can hear you. Name and address for the record, please.
Rob Muchnick. I live 4 houses down the block, 9 Ebb Tide.
Great. How are you, sir?
Good. 30 years, 25 years ago, I actually built the neighborhood. And I live there ever since. I've lived there ever since. And from my opinion, whatever these folks are asking for is right in line with what everybody else has done.
Okay, great. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Application granted. Have a good night. guys.
Thank you.
Next application number 708-20, Lewis and Kathleen Tate. Permission to leave driveway having a side yard of 3 feet, patio on side property line, and concrete pad having a side yard of 0.7 feet and a rear yard of 0.3 feet instead of the required 4 feet each. Residence A District, north side of Kime Avenue, number 491, 536.16 feet west of Ward Street, West Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Vice Chairman, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Steve Bertolino, 130 West Main Street, East Islip, New York, for the applicant.
You're actually representing somebody here, right? You're not just helping them out.
Technically, I am just helping him out. How did you know that, Mr. Messina?
Gee, Mr. Bertolino, I've seen this movie before.
Yes, I am a nice guy. Despite what some other council think of me, I'm a nice guy.
What other councils? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, me neither. Anyway, back to the task at hand. So let's start with the one in the rear corner. So the applicant has a basketball court, as you can see on the survey, in the rear, and that little concrete slab in the back is what holds the rack for his basketball and other sports equipment. The property owner immediately to the north has a shed that's a few feet off the fence that butts up against to the that back court. So it really doesn't intrude. It is a grade level slab, and I don't think it would affect the nature and character.
Move on to the other. That's de minimis. That's small. That's easy.
Okay, so moving over to the driveway. The driveway is 3 feet instead of the 4. If you go up and down the blocks, I did not have a chance to speak to Deirdre or to do any FOIL requests, but it is evident that the nature and the character of the community also has driveways, if not on the lot line, shortly or closely there too. Right behind the driveway, heading to the north, you enter the gate, and the applicant has his garbage pails and his firewood stored right on that concrete patio to the left. And to the west, the neighbor there also has a shed. So we're not affecting that neighbor in any event. It is a grade level patio, and any effect would be de minimis. We ask that you grant the application in all respects.
Could we see the aerial, please? Okay. Wow, that's tight.
Yeah, they're all very, very tight knit. Not quite a cluster, but they're on the lot lines everywhere.
And the paper patio is pervious. It drains. It's not on concrete.
Well, it is a concrete patio, but it drains to the north and south on the applicant's property. We have the applicant has told me that he's spoken to the neighbor, and she does not have any issue with this. There's never been a complaint of flooding. There's never been any issue with the neighbor at all.
Compared to the whole sideline, the Wesley property line, it's kind of a small area. It's on the property line is.
Yeah, it doesn't run the length of the property, as you point out.
All right, so there's a 6-foot though PVC fence. Is that on the property line too? Or is that just facing to the street?
No, it's both. The fence runs all the way north to south. It doesn't go all the way to the street, but as you can see on the survey, it starts about a third of the way to the north of the property at the end of the driveway and runs to the rear yard on the lot line.
Thank you.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you. On this rather straightforward application, as opposed to others, I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Chief,
Aye.
thank you, Mr. Wexler. It's like a holiday present.
And Mr. Bertolino, I will be nominating you this year at the Bar Association for Pro Bono Attorney of the Year. So please,
I appreciate
your
it.
efforts
Thank you.
here
Have a good
are simply unparalleled.
evening. Yeah. Thank you.
Have a good evening. Next application number 709-20, Jack Boyd and Jacqueline Suite, permission to leave one-story addition 12 feet by 17 feet, having a front yard of 23.1 feet instead of permitted 25 feet. Residence B District, northeast corner of Midway Court, number 7, and Wildwood Court, East Islip. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
We may have lost Dan Sullivan. He's like,
No, he's there.
I'm here.
He's just playing hide and seek.
I just had the paper up.
And there's Ms. Sweet. There's our applicant, Mr. Chairman.
evening.
Hello.
Name and address for the record, please.
Jacqueline, Suite 7, Midwood Court, East Islip.
How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. You have a one-story addition, a little bit too close. The house seems a little bit skewed on the property, not straight. I think it's de minimis. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, next application number 710-20, Christopher P. and Catherine M. Collins, permission to leave one-story addition 13 feet by 24 feet, having a side yard of 13.9 feet instead of the required 18 feet, residence AA district, north side of Academy Street, number 115, 348.69 feet west of Oakdale Avenue, Bayport, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant? Ms. Pissarro? Is there he is.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Richard Tripakowski, agent for the applicant,
How are you, sir?
173 North Main Street, Sayville, New York. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Here, you want to state your case, Mr. Kowski?
Yeah, sure. The addition in question replaced a roofed-over screen room. The original home was built with a 13.9 setback. The homeowner basically squared off the rear of the house, eliminating the screen room and created a den. The extension does not cause any further side yard encroachment and does not cause any privacy issues to the neighbors or any adverse impacts on the neighborhood.
And there doesn't seem to be any adverse FAR implication either, correct?
No.
Just to let the board know, in 1997, they have a ZBA approval of a screened-in porch 10 by 18, leaving a side yard of 14 feet instead of required 18 feet. So I'm assuming.
Yeah, it just to clarify that it was built in the same place, and the survey shows it at 13.9, but the house, if you look at it, is a little askew. And actually, when I used my measuring thing, I think it's actually about 14 feet at the rear. It's just for the survey purpose that was 13.
Even at 13.9, it's the same as the house, right? So-
That's correct.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Have a good night, sir.
Thank you. You also, and good holidays.
You too, sir.
Do.
Next application number 711-20, Brian Landers, permission to leave above ground pool 12 feet by 25 feet, having a side yard of 11 feet instead of the required 14 feet, residence A district, west side of Overlook Drive, number 44, 592.9 feet south of Montauk Highway. And it doesn't have the hamlet on what I have here. It's East Islip.
Yeah.
Okay, East Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Brian Landers, 44 Overlook Drive, East Islip.
How are you, sir?
Very good. Thank you.
So you have an above ground pool. Do you know how long it's been constructed?
It's actually been recently built. I actually built it back in, I had it installed back in March. I have electrical wires going through my backyard, so I did have a limited space of where I could put it. And then I was actually mistaken on the district I was part of, thinking I only needed 10 feet. So that's why I chose the 11 feet.
So you got very lucky and got a pool before the pandemic rush hit.
Just about. I needed pretty much all summer, exactly.
So with above ground pools, we have on the board here that we say life of the pool. So if there should be some sort of reconstruction of the pool, it would have to comply. You understand? All right. So does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Who is he says? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application for the life of the pool.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Granted, sir. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Next application is number 712-20, John LaCitra. Permission to erect a two-story addition approximately 4 feet by 21.5 feet, one-story addition 4.5 feet by 29 feet with roof terrace 6 feet by 20 feet, leaving a side yard of 10.1 feet, and to erect a one-story addition 20 feet by 30 feet, leaving a side yard of 4 feet instead of the required 14 feet each. Total side yards of 14.1 feet instead of the required 28 feet, and to leave driveway on side property line, not having the required setback of 4 feet, residence B district, north side of Easy Street, number 131, 90.17 feet east of Hillsdale Avenue through lot to Amelia Place, West Sayville, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
We have the applicant and their design professional. Both of you have to turn your microphones on. They're both in the panel. There we
Oh,
go.
Can you hear me?
Good evening.
This is John Lasitra.
How are you, sir?
Good,
Hello.
good. Hi, how are you? I didn't know if I was doing it right. Danny Tanzi is here helping me.
Hello. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can
Okay.
both, but just name and address for the record.
I
And
might.
Danny Tanzi is your design professional or you?
Yes, yes, he's the design professional.
All right, so name and address for the record, both of you separately, please.
John Lasitra, 131 Easy Street, West Sayville.
Okay.
And my name is Danny Tanzi, 146 Foster Avenue, Sayville.
And you're here on behalf of Mr.
Lasitra. Correct.
Who's going to state that case, you or Mr. Lasitra?
I will.
Got it.
So effectively with this project, we're looking at two components. The primary component is the one-story addition to the west of the site, the 20 by 30 addition. We're seeking relief on the side yard setback of that addition. The purpose of that addition is to move Mom into this building. And at that property line, along that edge of the property line, there are existing accessory buildings that are roughly in the same configuration as the addition that we're proposing and at the same setback. In addition to that, we're proposing a minor two-story addition to the back of the existing house, so we can create a link to connect Mom's place to the family's place.
Let me ask you a question, sir. You're saying Mom, are you two-story family use only? Is that what you, two-story, are you doing a two-family use only type application, or are you doing just
an additional bedroom, no separate kitchen?
Okay.
And we're making modifications naturally to the septic system.
So Mom's area in the back, as I call it, the one that's the one story, that's just the bedroom for Mom. And then the two stories over the existing dwelling now?
Yes.
Gotcha.
I have a couple questions, if I may. You said to the west, the survey that I'm looking at doesn't have a compass direction on it, so.
My apologies. North.
All right. Let me just ask, the one toward the construction toward Easy Street, the construction there is 10.1 feet from the property line. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's the existing residence.
That's the existing residence, and you're going up?
We're going, we're going back from the existing residence.
Okay, so you're going further back. Okay.
Back by 4 feet from the existing residence, and then the single-story addition continues behind that.
Okay.
Along the west property line.
Okay, and then on I guess that would be the east side, we can establish that now. There is construction proposed that's 4 feet from the property line?
I'm sorry, that's on the west side. I'm sorry.
That's the addition, right?
The addition
on
is
the side that faces Hillside Avenue.
Mr. Wex, just to let you know, Mr. Wex, so Amelia Place is north?
Right.
Okay.
So the west side, whoever said
West
that had
side.
it right. Yeah.
Okay, so the west side, you're proposing to construct something 4 feet from the property line?
That's correct. They're existing within roughly the same footprint of what we're proposing is a shed and accessory garage that are existing. We're proposing to take those structures down and make those spaces into living spaces, but maintaining the setback.
Could we see an aerial, please?
Yeah, but let me just, while we're doing that, we can't equate sheds to construction that's living. We treat sheds differently than we treat structures. I mean, you're not going to find any precedent to build 4 feet from the property line.
I think one of the challenges with this site naturally is the narrow width.
No, hang on. I guess I didn't make myself clear. I should put it more directly. I apologize. Do you have any precedent to construct 4 feet from the property line, 4 instead of 4?
May I interject for a second?
Well, could somebody answer the question? There is precedent or there's not. First answer that, then interject.
I'm not aware of precedent.
Okay.
Can I just make a point? I think you're thinking it's a shed, but it's a garage.
I know, but we don't have precedent for a garage at 4 feet.
But okay, but it's been there since 1932.
The garage has not been there since 1932.
Or I'm sorry, whenever the house was built, I believe that structure has been there with the house since that time, as far as I knew as the homeowner.
Mr. Lucitra, let me ask you a question. Is this said garage or shed that you're talking about, was it detached from the structure?
Yes.
Okay, so the moment you attach to your dwelling, it raises the side yard setback to what it is at 14 today. You can have a structure, a detached structure under 500 square feet at 4 feet from the property line, rear and side. The moment you attach it, it goes to 14 feet.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll stay out. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear that this has been that this has been there forever. Like
But
it's
no, you keep saying
apples to oranges, though. Sorry,
yeah, you
Sure,
keep
no
saying,
problem. I'll stay out.
Yeah, whoever wants to, you keep saying it's been there.
Well, I think we rectified the situation, Mr. Wexler. He didn't realize the all attached type.
But also, not only whether it's attached or detached, what is there? What was there is not what you're proposing to put there.
Right. He stated that there was a detached in this whole area over there. There's a lot of detached structures, like i.e. a garage that may be back there a little bit close to the property line in this area over here. I know it well, but the moment you attach it, it creates a whole different animal when it comes
Okay, understood. I apologize. I was just trying to make sure that was clear.
No worries.
And I understand that. I know that's one of the reasons why we're seeking relief. You know, one thing just particular with this property, I think why we were looking to maintain that existing setback was because of the narrow lot at the back of the house. You know, you see that the lot opens up as you move back. But, you know, the traditional approach would have been to, you know, put an addition onto the back of this building. But if we do that, then, you know, considering the circumstances of the use, I think we were looking to maintain some family space at the back of that yard.
So, Mr. Tanzi, I appreciate that, and I understand exactly what you're saying. But unfortunately, we have to abide by the zoning code. And if you were going straight back or straight up over an existing side yard of a dwelling, we can look at that. But you're asking us for 4 feet instead of 14 feet, which you have no precedence on this area. And again, as I said earlier, I know this area well, and I appreciate your concern. But to have a 4-foot side yard in this area is something that we have not seen before. And I'm going to ask Deirdre from planning if there is any precedent, but I don't believe there is. I'm going to ask Deirdre from planning if she knows of any precedent for a 4-foot side yard on the structure or any structure in the area.
Can I just ask a quick question? Deirdre, can you point out on, I think I know the answer, but I just want to be sure, which lot on the aerial is this?
It's like the P looking lot. It looks like a P.
Right there?
It's almost a flag lot.
All right. And Deirdre, can you point out where this proposed, my eyes must be not getting great as I approach my mid-30s, but where are we looking here?
Don't brag, Mr. Nicole. Don't brag.
Right there.
Us old guys will take you out.
I'm older than your father, Chris.
I know. Yeah, all right.
Next exec session, we're gonna have a little lesson on reading maps and surveys, which is south, east, and west.
No, I know east and west. I'm just trying to.
He's got it. He got
Okay.
it, Chris. You got it.
All right. I was just curious. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's no precedent for a side yard of 4 feet. The next highest precedent is for a side yard of 10.1.
Yeah. So, Mr. Tanza, the only precedent possibly that you have is a side yard of 10.1 in this area. You're asking for 4. There, you have to give us some sort of an argument that we can approve your 4, and when we only have 10.1 as a side yard.
If not the 4, and I understand the position of the board, as much as we can get to maintain some semblance of backyard.
Yeah, it doesn't kind of work like that. Maybe you should ask for an adjournment, talk with planning, see what the precedent, well, you know what the precedents are in the area, see what they're willing to support, if anything. and maybe, come back to us at that point after you've had a chance to meet with them. Just my suggestion. You're free to
I
do
think
whatever you wish.
That's a great suggestion for you. You can at least meet with them and find out what your avenue may be. You can travel down.
You also may want to find out the 10.1. Is that a one-off? Is that the only one? Was that existing? How does that get there? Is everything else compliant? You may want to get those answers. It'll help you.
Thank you.
Mr. Tanzi and Mr. Lisich, are you okay with taking an adjournment, or you want to go forward with?
I recommend taking the advice of the board on the adjournment.
We're not giving you advice. We're just giving you options, sir.
I would stick with the options that the board has presented.
So you can give a call to Deirdre over in planning, Deirdre Ryan over in planning, and she can sit with you or someone in our staff and go over some options possibly in the area. Just give you a little better of an avenue for what you want to do.
Thank you.
You agree with that? Do you need an open adjournment? Do you want a next date? What would you like to do?
Let's leave, I think we should leave it open and get the meeting with planning first.
That's a good answer. Thank you.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn the hearing.
Second.
I will second.
You want to see if anyone wants to be heard, or you don't?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
To be heard, this application.
I don't have anybody that's expressed interest in it.
Does the
All
board
right.
have any questions?
I'll renew my motion, Mr. Chair.
There you go. Second.
I believe Mr. Nicole, you seconded.
Oh, I seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So you guys talk to Deirdre and come back to us, and we'll be here to help as best we can.
Thank you.
Next
Thanks.
application, number 713-20, Dana and Vanessa Muno. Permission to install in-ground pool, leaving a side yard of 13 feet instead of required 18 feet. Residence AA District, west side of Snedeker Avenue, number 28, 330.8 feet north of Middle Road, Bayport. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes, Dana, you just have to turn on your audio.
Hello?
There we go.
Hello?
How are you?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello. How are you?
Name and address for the
Hello?
record, sir.
We hear you. Could you hear us?
Hello?
We got you.
Hello?
We hear you. Can you hear us?
Let me write it.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, there you go.
Good.
Making me look good at this.
And
hard to do.
That's hard work, man.
How are you, Mr. Muno?
Good, how are you?
Good. Name and address for the record, please.
Dana Muno, 28 Snedeker Avenue, Bayport, New York.
All right. You're here looking to install an in-ground pool.
Yes,
Side of 13 instead of 18.
yes.
Go ahead.
Do you want to hear my thoughts on why?
Good.
Okay, so obviously for safety reasons, we wanted to keep the pool as close to the house as possible with the kids being in it and everything. And as you can see from the survey, it's like a pie-shaped yard. And I think even at its widest point, it's kind of like 60 feet. So with the detached garage in the backyard, it would almost kind of be like right on top of the garage and would kind of take away the access to the backyard.
You can move it back a little and then over 5 feet. I mean,
Well,
you have plenty of room to comply.
It is, but if you look like from the line of sight from the house, if you move it back and over, with the garage, it would kind of block it out a little bit.
I agree. I don't think you want any blind spots in a pool with young children.
Right.
How do you know there's young children, Mr. Nicolia?
Because he just said that.
I didn't.
That's why, for safety reasons, I wanted to keep it.
I know,
and what, old people like me don't need supervision in a pool?
Maybe, I don't.
I'm following up on Miss.
I'm not going there.
My chairman's thought. There's plenty of room to comply. I mean, this is plenty of room.
What's next? Can we see the aerial? I mean, if there's no one next to it, there's no real practical
I
impact.
gotta be honest, I want to ask Deirdre one quick question, if you guys don't mind.
Please go ahead.
Deirdre, do we have any side yard relief for pools in this area?
No, there's no precedent.
So even if we shifted in that same location over towards the frame garage a little bit, it appears you have some good room. So maybe 15 instead of 13.
Well, I mean, we kind of laid it out that we actually cut a tarp to the size. And like when the cover and stuff is on in the winter, it would be like getting into the backyard because the cover goes, I think he said 3 or 4 feet past the edge of the pool. With the
Mr.
garage
Moore,
there.
Your drawing shows you have some good distance between.
Well, there's a 10-foot Leland cypress hedge on the one side, the property to the south, which you can kind of see in the aerial. So, and the pool would start kind of just like near the back of the garage. There's not much around it.
I think our chairman is being very generous. I would say,
Saying shift it 2
me,
feet.
I'd say comply.
You may have a deal.
And, you know, you do have a lot of land there. I think it's easier to take down a couple of trees than to get a variance.
So I appreciate what you're saying about the distance from the house, but maybe you could shift it 2 feet north towards the garage and 15 instead of 18. I feel a little better.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take whatever I can get. That would be fine.
Well, you thank the chairman for playing Santa Claus tonight.
How does the board feel about the 15 instead of 18?
That's fine, Mr. Chairman, if you're okay with it. Otherwise, Mr. Wexler and I would have had our way.
Well, one thing I would point out, one thing from a planning standpoint that you might be interested in is the lot is only, is it 48 feet wide at the street? And it is burdened by AA designation. And I think at the widest point, almost midway through, it's only 70 feet wide. So it's got the width of a B or an A lot.
Yeah, but whatever. Again, the chairman's been generous. I'll adopt the chairman's recommendation.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, before I start, are you okay with my recommendations?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's very fair.
Okay. Does Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application at, what did we say?
15.
15.
At 15 feet.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted at 15 feet, Mr. Muno. Have a great.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next application number 714-20, Karen A. McGordy, trustee of the Karen A. McGordy Revocable Trust. Permission to erect a one-story addition 22 feet by 29.5 feet, leaving a rear yard of 17 feet instead of required 25 feet and floor area ratio of 25.9 feet instead of the permitted 25.9%, excuse me, instead of permitted 25%. Residence B District, northeast corner of Lakeland Avenue, number 345 and High Street, Sayville, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
We have the applicant and a design professional.
Very good.
There we go.
Good evening.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you? Name and address for the record, please.
Karen A. McGordy,
Are you
345 Lakeland Avenue, Sayville, New York.
are you here or is your design professional going to state your case?
He is, I think, although George Coyne, is he signed up? He
is. He's present. Hi, George.
George, can you hear me?
Oh, you can hear me? Hello?
There you go.
Hello, hello.
Name and address for the record, please.
Okay, good. Yes, sir. Good evening. It's George Coinoglu, architect, 370 Green Avenue, Sayville, New York.
And could you spell your last name for our court reporter, please?
Sure. Koinoglu.
Thank you.
How are you tonight, sir? Can you hear me?
Well, we're looking for two things, two variances. One on the square footage, we're basically 0.9 of a foot over, and I guess the other issue is the rear yard. We're looking for 17 feet instead of the required 25, and we basically have two issues that we have to deal with. This is a corner lot, so visually that side, it looks like a side yard, feels like a side yard, but under the code it's a rear yard. And
Well, I'm
and
looking at
because
an-
it's a corner lot, we
I'm looking-
basically lose.
I'm looking at an older document.
I'm kind
here
of breaking
that-
up here.
Okay, so hear me out, okay? Looking at all the document here that says there's
I'm sorry.
there was a framed
Yeah, sure.
garage that was within 5 feet or so of the side yard. What you're proposing now is 17 feet, I think, right?
That's correct.
So this is 12
That's
feet
correct.
better than what was already existing at some
And-
time, correct?
Yes, sir.
Back off of Mr. Messina's argument here, or not argument, but
Observation.
observation. And then we, as a board, although the code says 25 feet, we see up to 30 feet, so 25.9, you seem to be okay. Seems de minimis. I think we may be okay for a vote. Are you okay with that, Mr.? I don't know how to say your last name. I apologize. Koinoglu?
Koinoglu.
Koinoglu. Thank you. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Have a great night, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Happy holidays.
Next application,
You
number
too.
715-20, Paul J. Tagliaferri. Permission to leave generator not having the required 4 feet behind the front line of the dwelling. Residence AA District, west side of Connecticut Drive, approximately 130 feet west of Connecticut Road at the confluence of the Connecticut River and Rattlesnake Brook. Man, am I having a hard time. Woodlawn Avenue, Oakdale, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
The applicant is here. Can you hear us, Paul?
I can, yes. How are you?
All right, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Paul J. Taliaferri, 1 Woodlawn Avenue, Oakdale, New York, 11769.
Great. So you have a generator that's a little bit far in front of your property, but you have quite beautiful piece of property surrounded by water, it seems there.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's unique.
It's definitely unique, and that's to say the least. I'm assuming Deirdre from Planning has no objection to this.
No objections.
All right, does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application grant, have a good holiday.
Next application, number 716-20, Latoya Vincent, Joanne Dunkley, and Paula A. Smith, permission to use a dwelling for family use only pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-419.1. To leave shed, having a second front yard of 41.3 feet instead of the required 55 feet. To leave shed with roof over 20.2 feet by 25.2 feet, having a building height of 15.4 feet instead of the permitted 14 feet. And having a side yard of 2.4 feet and a rear yard of 4.4 feet instead of the required 10 feet each. To leave a pond in the front yard when only permitted in rear yard. To leave a 6-foot fence having a front yard of 1.1 feet instead of the required 15 feet. To leave a pool patio on rear property line not having the required setback of 6 feet. And to leave area of rear yard landscaped 17.2% instead of the minimum required 40%. Residence AAA District, southwest corner of Montauk Highway, number 940, and Canterbury Road, Canterbury Court, Oakdale, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
I am.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Latoya Vincent. I live at 940 Montauk Highway, Oakdale, New York, 11769.
Great. So would you like to state your case, or would you like us to go through it?
Okay, well, basically I moved here 4.5 years now, I think. And when I moved here, all these things were here when I moved here. So I did not know you had to have permits or anything like that. And it's not an excuse, but I would like to keep everything the same and just pay for it if that's possible.
If only it was so
Solve the world's
simple.
problems, right? Just keep it. Let's pay for it. We're good.
Listen, I'm a nurse, not a lawyer. So I'm not gonna do this.
Well, thank you for your service through these times. So I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome.
All right, so let's break it down then. You have sheds having a second front yard of 41.3 instead of the required 55. You're on the second front yard because you're on the corner of Canterbury and Montauk. I believe that's the minimus. Deirdre from planning, any objections to the frame shed that's off Canterbury?
The smaller one, no objections.
No objections at all. Okay. So then you have a shed with roofed over, have a building height of 15.4 instead of permitted 14, and having side yard of 2.4 and 4.4 instead of required 10 feet each. So the building frame over to the southwesterly corner of your property behind your pool,
Yes.
a bit high and it's a bit too close to the rear and side yard setbacks. You saying that that's been there since you bought the property?
Since I bought the property, yes, I have not made any changes to this house.
How did you wind up coming to us, ma'am? What brought you here?
Well, a drunk driver hit down the fence the first month that I moved here. So the fence was down, and then, you know, you have a neighbor that just wants to be annoying. So he called the town and told them the fence was down, and I had a dog. So the ASPCA came and they said dogs stay in the house, which they do. They just go outside. And then he called the town and told them that I didn't replace the fence because the guy did not have any insurance. So I had to end up fixing the cable. He tore down the cable. So he just kept calling them until finally one came one day, an investigator. And I didn't know why he was there because I never experienced this before. So I thought he thought we were doing something illegal. So I let him in the house. And then he just started writing a whole bunch of violations. So I did not know anything until that day that these things were not legal.
So this all started over a fence.
Right.
Yep, over a fence.
And if we could speak as a board really quick on the stockade fence, it's on Montauk Highway. We all know how busy Montauk Highway is.
Man.
Yeah.
Or no?
Yeah.
How does the board feel about the stockade fence up on Montauk Highway?
I have no issue with it, Mr. Chairman.
I'm okay with it too.
I don't have a problem.
Okay, so the stockade fence we're okay with. The frame shed at 41.3 we're okay with. There's a little corner of the stockade fence in the rear, the southeasterly almost corner, that it just butts up real quick on one point. I believe that's the minimus. Does everyone else feel the same way or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Have the pond in the front yard, but only permitting the rear yard. Oh boy. Deirdre planning, help me out here. What do you guys feel?
There's no precedent for it.
I think though we have done it, and not within 500 feet, but I seem to recall we have done one in the front yard before.
I agree.
So it's not unprecedented. I mean, the thing that jumps out at me the most, and not, maybe there's a way to explain it away or to deal with it, is the 17.2% landscaped area instead of the required 40.
Yes.
That's the only thing on here, Mr. Chairman, that seems to be of any substance to me. And maybe it even isn't. I don't know. Ms. Ryan maybe could address that.
Yep.
That was recently more so added to the code. I believe kind of in the same vein as the rear yard occupancy kind of was.
So it kind of was it's a non-conforming, but legal non-conforming, right?
And
In a sense.
What, can somebody explain what that means?
Sure. So that it was legal until they changed the code, and then of course now they're applying the current code. But when it was installed, it was legal.
Well, I'm not too sure about that because they could have been caught by the rear yard occupancy. That's what I'm trying to say is that instead of rear yard occupancy allowing up to 30%, I believe, or somewhere around there, this code kind of came in place of that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Deidre can help me. I'm reading the last or the penultimate line where it says landscape 17.2% instead of the minimum required 40%.
Right.
We have a minimum required for landscaping?
Now we do.
More recently, yeah. Instead of the rear yard occupancy allowing up to 30%.
Right.
You need at least 40% being landscaped.
But let me ask you a question, Deidre, and I'm not arguing with you. I'm just trying to understand this in my own head. So this lady has had this property, and now all of a sudden, because the code changed, she now has to put landscaping in the back just because it changed. What was it prior to the code change?
I think the key here, Mr. Chairman, at least in my own thinking, and maybe we could address this all at once, is that whether or not this was at some point legal, if so, when, and whether or not, whether or not we choose to allow it to continue because it pre-existed the code amendments. Right? I think, is that fair, Chairman?
I think that's fair.
When was the code amendment? Does anybody know?
September 15, the town board adopted.
Right, but when was rear yard occupancy put in?
It was, rear yard occupancy was eliminated on September 15.
But
and
when
replaced-
was it passed originally? That's my point.
Rear yard occupancy has been in existence, or was in existence.
Can I just take a stab at the chronology? So the house is existing. The applicant buys it 4.5 years ago. Everything is there. Everything that's relevant.
Right.
Somebody crashes into the gate or the fence. There's things going on. In September, the town says, now you need 40% rather than 17.2% landscape. And since the applicant is applying to legalize these things, she now is required to comply with the September 15th change in the code.
Right, correct. And by the way, her westerly property line's up against New York State land, so.
But she complied before somebody hit the fence.
Right.
Pretty much.
All right, I'm good. I'm good.
All right.
But just to clarify, the backyard, the way it previously would have gone was that the rear occupancy would have been like 80%. That's kind of what they're saying.
Right.
That's not what the call says, though. The call should state that just because they
took away that part and they replaced it with a different wording for it.
So wait, let me ask you a question, Deirdre. Prior to the code change, would her, as the previously calculated rear yard occupancy, have been conforming? Or
no, that's her point.
No, so it would have gone caught either way.
Deirdre, let me piggyback off Mr. Nicolia here. We would have looked at side yard also because they're on a corner here. And we look, although the address is Montauk Highway, they have a driveway on Canterbury Court. So we would also look into the side yard, helping out the rear yard, and kind of probably did a calculation to find out how that was also. So
correct. We would attempt to treat it like an interior lot.
Should we address this in a decision so we're not willy-nilly granting a greater than 50% relaxation that we'll have to live with?
I agree with Mr. Wexler. I think it's grantable, but we should certainly set forth the basis for the grant.
I think willy-nilly is listening to us and he can draft a beautiful willy-nilly.
That's who I meant. That was really who I meant.
And certainly address it in the decision.
Thank you, Mr. Garbarino.
Thank you.
That was an attempt at humor, but.
I know. I loved it. That's why I liked it. All right. So does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
Mr. Chairman, we just need a little testimony on the two-family.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I apologize. Two-family, family use only, medical. I believe.
Latoya, your mom lives with you?
Yeah. Yes. Well, we live together.
Right. So two-family, family use only is going to be based on your mom, right, Joanne? Her name is, I believe, they say?
Yeah, Joan Dunkley, yeah.
Okay. And everything complies, Mary, with the two-family, family use only?
It does. Like you noted, we have a medical hardship letter.
Yep, we do. We definitely do. All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'm giving it to you, buddy.
I got it.
Motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the two-family, family use only for a period of 3 years. Grant the remainder of the application, and we're going to include in the decision our reasoning for granting it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. See you in 3 years. Enjoy the holidays.
Well, thank you. Happy holiday, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Next application number 717-20, Danny Alvarez and Margarita Vega, permission to leave fence exceeding 4 feet in height on property line not having required setback of 10 feet, Residence AA District, southwest corner of Bergen Street, number 12 and Evergreen Avenue, Brentwood, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
We have Danny Alvarez. All right. Okay.
Hello, yes.
There you are.
Hi, how are you? Good evening, Chairman of the board. I'm first time, a little bit nervous. I just trying to keep up with the terminology. It all happened when I bought a pool for my kids before the pandemic, and the fence in question is a chain link fence, and I guess the code enforcement agents saw the pool, and I started getting hit with summonses. Unfortunately, I had to take it down. I had to take down the pool, and I got another central AC unit stuff. But I know I'm sorry for taking your time. But unfortunately, 11 years ago, I put this fence, and my ground is not level, so it's 4.5, 4.6, 4.8. And I got a summon.
But it's chain link, you said?
Yeah,
It's chain link fence, yes.
This,
You
this,
can see
All right.
this is the picture of the fence.
Okay, I got it. Thank you. Yeah.
And it's been there for 11 years, and I really, I've been getting hit with summonses, and I'm trying to keep up. And I if it was like 7 feet tall, I'll say, you know what, I'm moving. But it's just inches. It's just inches. I spoke to my neighbors. My neighbors said, they might be here and to speak on my behalf, and to say that they don't have a problem with it.
Do we know the height of the fence?
I think he's saying it's varying in different places,
I
right?
know, but from low to high, what's the highest point?
The highest one is 5 feet, and the lowest is probably like 4.6.
And it's chain link. I mean, it's not like it's filled in chain link.
It's been there for 11 years.
Okay, we heard you.
Now it's 33 years.
What?
Said it 3 times, so I.
Oh, so it predates the code. We're in. No problem.
Comedic relief tonight. I like it.
I know, really. That's a side of him we rarely see.
Yeah.
Is anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I will take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Have a good night, sir. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you too. You did a great job, sir. Next application number 718-20, 166 West Main Street, East Islip, New York, East Islip, Inc. Permission to leave 2 ground signs where ground signs are not permitted with building having front yard setback less than 25 feet. Sign number 1 having an area of 14.375 square feet instead of permitted 12 feet. Sign number 2 having an area of 36 square feet instead of permitted 12 square feet, and having a height of 14.33 feet instead of permitted 10 feet. GST District, southeast corner of West Main Street, number 166 and Suffolk Avenue, East Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. Mr. Pissarro, this is Janice Whalen, 23 Green Street, Suite 302, Huntington, New York, for the applicant, 166 West Main Street, LLC.
Ms. Whalen, before you go on, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to have to recuse myself on this. Actually, this application started when I represented this applicant on this application. So I will turn off my microphone and recuse myself, and I will be ready for the next application when you call
Thank you,
it.
Mr. Messina. Mr. Messina is correct. This application started back in 2017. It started with code enforcement. I don't believe that the applicants knew that they didn't have permission for the second sign. Way
How
back.
do you not know that? They own a bunch of restaurants.
They do. And I went through the minutes for the town code change of zone. It was back in 1989. And apparently there was a condition in those minutes that mandated that they couldn't seek any further relief from the sign ordinance. But there was absolutely no testimony about the signage. In speaking with members of the planning staff, it might have been boilerplate language that might have been put in that. In I'm not trying to second guess what
No, but
happened
hold
way
that
back
thought
then.
1 second. Hold that thought. I don't mean to interrupt you, but first of all, I'd like to state that this doesn't involve a dune or a beach, so that's a good point.
That's a good thing.
But no, you're talking about language. Boilerplate or not, there's limiting language.
There was limiting language, but
Do we
before
have
I
that
came
before
here,
us?
I went to the planning board. The planning board gave me permission to go to the town board. And in May of this year, the town board modified that language, which gave me the permission to come to you. I would not be coming here unless I got the town board to modify that language. So
What does
now,
it say? What is the modification? I've never heard, so enlighten us.
okay, so previously, the deed restriction said applicant agrees to fully comply with the town of Islip sign ordinance and shall seek no further variance. Now, the town code the deed restriction says, prior to the issuance of any sign permits, all exterior signs shall be reviewed and approved by the town of Islip Planning Department. Freestanding signs shall be landscaped at its base to the satisfaction of the planning department. The planning department shall review the signs for design compatibility, color, materials, height, quantity, and size. Applicant agrees to waive the right to apply for signage variances for the zoning board without the prior approval of the planning department, which shall not be reasonably withheld. And that's the trigger that gave me permission to come to this board to ask for permission to keep the 2 ground signs, not 1.
All right, if I could just follow up. We are generally liberal on size with signs, but the first one, 14 instead of 0.3 instead of 12, I don't think anybody cares about. The second one, though, is that's 3 times the code.
Well, I want to let you know that in reviewing the documents in this file, the beech tree, I don't know if you could see, the original beech tree sign was just about the same size. As a matter of fact, it was a foot higher than the H2O sign. The beech tree sign was 15 feet from base to height. We're only where the existing sign that I'm seeking permission for is 14 feet. Now,
Does the beech tree sign have a CO?
That had a CO.
Okay.
But how could it get, I don't know, did the sign ordinance change?
Well, Mr. Wexler, I'm not trying to be difficult here, but the sign ordinance in town of Islip is a little archaic, in my opinion, anyway.
I drive by this every day, and it's not obtrusive, it's not offensive, it's not a traffic issue. It doesn't steal your sight while you're driving.
Forever.
And just to let you know, I had a revised survey done. Both signs are out of the sight triangle. And I got an engineer's letter that both signs can withstand 100-mile-an-hour winds. So there's no safety issue. And, we really worked hard to try. We were actually removing a sign. There's a third sign, but I didn't even ask for permission for that one because we felt that, 2 was more than enough. And I was grateful that the town board modified the condition so I could even come here to ask you for permission to keep it.
Mr. Nicolia drives by it every day. That's good for me. And you've never run into it?
I no, other things, but not that.
And he keeps going with the comedic relief. This is great. I love it.
It ends now. All right, I'm good.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Nicolia, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so very much. And I hope that you all have a great, safe holiday.
You too. Thank you.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Good night, Ms. Whalen.
Good night.
Next application, number 719-20, Alwyn Batan. Permission to leave shed having a side yard of 2.7 feet instead of the required 4 feet, and carport having a side yard of 13.1 feet instead of the required 18 feet. Residence AA District, west side of Connecticut Avenue, number 1162, 502.5 feet south of Wildwood Avenue, Central Islip. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Alan is here. Alan, you have to turn off or turn on your audio and hopefully your video.
Okay. Good afternoon. Good evening, everybody. My name is Alvin Batan. I live 1162 Connecticut Avenue, Central Islip, and I'm here for my.
Okay, speak up.
Let me do it again.
No, you're fine. We got you. We got you.
Okay.
Tonight. You have a shed a little bit too close to the property line?
Yeah, I built it around 20 years ago, and I wasn't aware of the code. I didn't pay attention to the code thing.
2.7 instead of 4, we see that a lot. Carport, having a side yard 13/1 instead of required 18. That's that roofed over concrete area.
Yes.
Deidre from planning, any objection to this 13.1 instead of 18?
No objections. There's no precedent, but there is a case of a first story addition with a side yard of 13.5.
That's much more impactful than a
Correct.
carport.
No objections.
Never to be enclosed with a carport, Mr. Don?
Excuse me?
Never to enclose the carport, sir?
No. No. Don't need it to be enclosed.
You don't need it to be enclosed, or you do?
No. No. Don't need it to be enclosed.
Okay, does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application on the condition that the carport never be enclosed.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application granted, sir. Condition, have a good night.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holiday.
Next application number 720-20, Kenneth Woods, permission to erect a one-story addition 11.9 feet by 27.4 feet, leaving a side yard of 9.7 feet instead of the required 14 feet. Second story addition 317 square feet, leaving a front yard of 29 feet instead of the required 40 feet. Roofed over entrance platform 5.1 feet by 8.2 feet, leaving front yard of 23.9 feet instead of permitted encroachment setback of 34 feet. To leave patio having a side yard of 3.6 feet instead of the required 4 feet, and shed not having 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling. Residence A District, north side of Ann Lane, number 21, 738.65 feet west of Wheeler Road, Central Islip. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes.
Good evening.
Oh, he's there too. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you?
Oh, yes, good evening. My name is Kenneth Woods, 21 Ann Lane, Central Islip, New York, 11722.
How are you tonight, Mr. Woods?
I'm great, sir.
You have someone else with you too? Because I see a little note on the file that you may have a design professional or.
Yeah, my architect might be on the line, not sure.
I just asked him to start his video.
Okay.
Sorry, Jose. We're dragging you in.
Can you guys hear me?
Can.
Okay, great.
Just for the record, please, sir.
My name's Jose Garcia. Address is 11 Roslyn Street, Islip Terrace, New York, 11752.
How are you tonight?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. Would you like to state the case for the applicant, or would you like us to pick it apart?
Oh, no, you up. We're asking for, we're proposing a one-story addition for a garage. I know we're asking for a 9.9 setback. I have done a FOIL, and I have some precedent that has been approved prior around the neighborhood. So,
500 foot radius from the home?
Yes, and as far as the front, this is a 75 by 100 foot lot. It's a B zone. It's an A zone, which requires 40 feet.
Mr. Garcia, let's talk about the precedent you have for the side yard first, and then we'll move on to the front.
Sure. I have an approval for a 10.4, which is a little less of an approval than what we're asking for. And there's also in 19.
Wait, less. It's
more of an approval.
You're seeking more.
Less of a variance, I think he means.
Yes.
Well, let's get the record straight.
Amen.
Yes. Sorry.
So
And
you're
there's a-
seeking
there's
more
a-
than the precedent, correct?
Right. Yes, correct. And there's also a 3-foot side yard that was approved in 1988.
For a proposed one-story garage, what was that approval for? A carport?
It was for an addition.
Okay. Do we have a approval number? The ZBA number or no?
I'm trying to find it. Just bear with me. Yes, it's 534-85. It was 19N. It's subsequently is the neighbor next to it.
There's got to be a story behind that 3-footer. Deidre, I see you smiling. Sounds like a song. Deidre, I see you smiling.
Yep, I'm here. I believe it was for a carport.
It was a carport. Okay.
So Deirdre, what precedent do you have, if any, for what's being asked for here?
The same precedent. There's a 10.42 and a side yard of 11 feet.
Okay, so that's our universe.
Yep.
So, Mr. Garcia, 10.5 seems to be the best that you've had precedent-wise for a side yard, correct? That's what Deirdre just confirmed?
Yeah, I mean, we're okay if we get approved for 10.5. He's just looking to do a garage. Mr. Woods is a disabled veteran, so he's just looking to have a garage so he can park his vehicles and, so it makes it easier, accessibility wise to get in the house during the colder
Woods,
months.
Thank you for your service, Mr. Woods. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir.
And 10.5, you're saying, Mr. Garcia, would kind of work if we were able to?
It would be tight because, as you're aware, you need the 8-foot door and then you need a little space on either side to open the car. So that's why we were asking. I know 9.9 was stretching it, but it would give us like a
9.7.
foot. Yeah, 9.7, and it would give us, a 1-foot 4 on either side, a little more wiggle room. But we'll take whatever you guys are willing to approve, obviously.
We've heard that a bunch of times tonight.
Will the board approve 10?
Yes.
Let's go right in the middle and split the difference. All right. So how about 10 feet?
That's great.
9.7, we'll give you 10.
That works. Appreciate that.
All right, and we have a second story addition, leaving front yard of 29 instead of required 40. It appears that the house holds a front yard of 29 or 25, I think 29 and change, 29.0.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Roofed over entrance platform, front yard of 23.9 instead of permitted 34. I have to believe if it's not enclosed, Deirdre from planning would not have an objection to that, but I'd let her talk to that. How do you feel, Deirdre?
No objections as long as it's never enclosed.
Right, never to be enclosed.
We're okay with that wording.
All right. Leave patio having side yard 3.6 instead of 4. That seems de minimis. Shed not having 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling. It's got to be darn close. I got to be honest with that vinyl shed. Do you know how far back it is behind the front line of the dwelling? How long ago was that shed erected?
About 6 years now, sir.
All right. It's
Pretty close to 20 feet. With the,
looks it, right?
You don't have to call him sir. He's not a commissioned officer.
I'm half the man you could have.
You still liking his sense of humor now, Chairman?
I actually appreciate it. Never
Three,
fun.
or maybe you need 2, Mr. Woods.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
I think that's, I think we're right there with that shed also. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah. I'm good with everything else that remains, Mr. Chairman.
Does anyone share this application?
Mr. Chairman, we did have an email correspondence with somebody who wanted to look at the plot plan today. It is the adjacent neighbor to the east, and that neighbor was, or that parcel was the beneficiary of that carport with a side yard of 3 foot in 1985. She has 2 concerns. She has a concern about the length of time of construction. I imagine you'll want to do it quickly, though. And the other is the decreased distance between the houses.
Well,
someone with a 3-foot carport shouldn't be talking about decreased distance.
Talk about glass houses and rocks and all that.
Bones.
Yeah, that's the word.
All right. Well, we appreciate her email.
Absolutely.
Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Okay. Motion to deny that portion of the application seeking permission to erect a one-story addition, leaving side yard of 9.7 feet instead of required 14 feet, and instead grant 10 feet side yard. And to grant the balance of the application with the condition that the front yard permitted encroachment of 23.9 feet never be enclosed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Petition granted, sir. Thank you again for your service. Have a great night, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, sir. Take
Have a
care.
great holiday.
All right, next application, number 721-20, Gloria Alvarez, permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-602, Residence A District, east side of Virgil Drive, number 15, 595.5 feet south of Stumple Street, Brentwood, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
She's here, trying to help her.
Ms. Alvarez is in fact here. Yeah.
There we go.
Just have to unmute.
Does anyone else feel like we're in the Stormtroopers with Nicole? You with that?
Hey, it's all I could get in the middle of the pandemic.
You know what? He's here. God bless him.
It took 4 weeks for this thing to be delivered. Okay.
Can
Ms.
you hear me
Alvarez,
now?
speak up. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. My name is Gloria Alvarez, 15 Virgil Drive, Brentwood, New York.
How are you tonight?
I'm okay. How are you guys?
Good. You're here seeking permission to establish an accessory apartment.
Yes.
It appears the apartment is 448 square feet, which meets the code. The driveway complies.
Yes.
Everything else is in order, right, Mary?
Yep, everything else is in order. The driveway has met engineering specifications.
Yep. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion granted. Have a great night. Happy holidays.
You too. Thank you. Happy holidays. Thank you.
Next application, number 722-20, Efrain Velasquez and Maria Cruz Velasquez. Permission to leave awning 48.5 feet by 37 feet irregular, having a side yard of 2.6 feet instead of required 14 feet. Floor area ratio of 26.7 feet instead of permitted 26.7%, excuse me, instead of permitted 25%. And to leave patio having a side yard of 2.6 feet instead of the required 4 feet. Residence B District, north side of Morton Street, number 49, 75 feet west of Madison Avenue, Brentwood. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
We have Robert Skelfo. I'm asking him to start his video. Here we go. Now turn, there you go.
How are you?
This is Scalfo. How are you, sir?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. I hope everybody's well.
You too.
We have an
Name and
application.
address for the record, please.
Excuse me?
Name and address for the record, please.
404 Montauk Highway, West Islip, 11795.
Great. All right. So I'm going to pick this apart for you. You have 26.7 FAR instead of 25. We see that a lot. We give up the 30. You know that. We have a side patio, it's 2.6 instead of required 4. That seems de minimis. We have an awning, irregular, 2.6 instead of 14. Do you have any precedence for an awning with a side yard?
Yes, I have a couple of ZBA approvals here at 3 and 4 foot, but the one in particular is application 562-16, which is on Morton Street. And it was approved and relaxed to 2.62 feet.
And that's a awning also?
That's no, the roofed over area.
Sure. So never to be enclosed?
No.
All right. Do you have, you said you had a few other ones also, but 2.62 is the one you're talking about?
Right. The other ones were like 3 and 4 feet, but this is the one.
Can you give us some information? Because Mr. Wex is going to say, well, is that a one-off? So if we have more information, we're good.
It's only an awning.
It's only an awning. All right, we're good.
All right.
We're good. We're going to run with that. We're going to run with that. Hold on. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application with the condition that the awning never be enclosed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Have a great holiday.
Thank you, you too, guys. Take care.
And the final application of the evening, number 723-20, Nassau County Investors LLC. Permission to leave reconstructed two-story dwelling on a lot having a width of 50 feet instead of required 75 feet. Lot area of 4,984 square feet instead of the required 7,500 square feet. Leaving a front yard of 19.7 feet instead of required 25 feet, side yard of 12 feet instead of required 14 feet, total side yards of 26.75 feet instead of the required 28 feet, and floor area ratio of 25.22% instead of the permitted 25%. To construct a roof over entrance, leaving a front yard of 16.3 feet instead of permitted encroachment setback of 20 feet, Residence B District East side of North First Avenue, number 107. 145 feet north of Brook Avenue, Bay Shore, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes, Chris Gray, architect.
All right, Mr. Gray, your address, please, for the, I'll beat the chairman to the punch.
2401 Capri Place, North Belmont, New York, representing Nassau County Investors. Good evening.
How are you tonight, sir?
Good. My client, he bought this property. It is abandoned. This was an abandoned construction project. The prior owner took it upon themselves to put a full second floor. What looks like it was probably a 1.5-story home, and they put a 1-story addition in the rear as well as a portico in the front yard. So this project construction had started without a permit by the prior owner, and it has been abandoned for some time now. My client had bought this property, and then now it is discovered that in doing these additions, they're in violation of the front yard setback. It appears that the second floor was built over the existing footprint, so the front yard of 19.7 feet. That could be that's the existing front face of the dwelling, where 25 feet is required. And the side yard at its minimum on the left-hand side is 12 feet, where 14 is required. And the aggregate of 26.75 that exists is less than the 28 feet that is required. All in all, the FAR is 25.22. Over the 25% maximum.
Mr. Chairman, is there a CO in the file that shows?
Mr. Gray, I just wanted to correct you. I apologize, but the CO does state one family dwelling non-conforming 2 stories. So this was a 2-story dwelling at some point, and that's back from 1971.
Okay.
1971 on this.
Okay, that's fine. I saw the property, so things were a little bit of a mystery, so I was not sure how this evolved.
Just wanted to correct the record.
It's to your favor, to your benefit. So
that's fine.
Take it. It's a very good night for applicants tonight. I got to tell you.
Yeah, it actually is. So we do have a CO on it. We have the floor area ratio 25.22 instead of 25. We see up to 30. We have 50 instead of 75. It was CO'd at that back from 1971.
And there's a lovely picture of what it.
Wow.
Oh, it's a 1.5-story. That's how. Okay.
2 stories, Mr. Gray.
Okay, that's fine.
Forget the words 1.5 story tonight.
Theo says 2 stories, so.
It's a 2-story. Yes, it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
Deirdre from planning, any objections to this application?
No objections. There's a lot of non-conforming lots in the area. This does have the smallest lot area, but there's a few that have the same widths of 50%, the same front yard setbacks, the same front yard setbacks for the roofed over porch. And
it's not like this was a vacant lot. It was already built on.
Yeah. You okay with it then, Deirdre?
Yep, no objections.
Great. All right, does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
You're stopping me just when I'm figuring out how to screen share. I'm so excited. That was me that shared the former dwelling.
We saw that.
And here comes the dwelling, what it looks like now.
Oh, nice.
Much better.
Mary, you are like
I know, I'm getting there, huh? 18 hearings in, I figured out how to screen share a little bit.
It's time to go back to live hearings now.
You've had 18 Zoom hearings?
I think we have, maybe 19.
Wow.
401, here we come.
Yeah.
Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
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 Application granted. So have a great night. Happy holidays.
Thank you very much. Same to you.
Madam Secretary, anything that we need to read in?
We have 7 renewals of accessory apartments for a period of 3 years.
Make a motion to grant all of them for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anything else, Ms. Pissarro? Ms.
No.
Pissarro?
No, nothing else. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, in light of that, I would make a motion to adjourn the hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.